Hello listeners, this is the continuing video of Mahabharat audio series. This video will be regarding chapter number 70. In this chapter, we'll listen about the seventh day of the battle. Duryodhan, wounded all over and suffering greatly, went to Bhishma and said, "The battle had been going against us every day. Our formations are broken and our warriors are being slain in large numbers. You are looking on doing nothing?" The grand desire soothed Duryodhan with comforting words. "Why do you let yourself be disheartened? Here are all of us, Drona, Salya, Kritavarma, Ashwathama, Vikarn, Bhagadat, Shakuni, the two brothers of Avanti, the Trigarath chief, the king of Magad, and Kripacharya. When these great warriors are here, ready to give up their lives for you, why should you feel downhearted? Get rid of this mood of dejection." Saying this, he issued orders for the day. "See there," the grand desire said to Duryodhan, "these thousands of cars, horses, and horsemen, great war elephants, and those armed foot soldiers from various kingdoms are all ready to fight for you. With this fine army, you can vanquish even the goods. Fear not." Thus, cheering up the dejected Duryodhan, he gave him a healing balm for his wounds. Duryodhan rubbed it over his numerous wounds and felt relieved. He went to the field, heartened by the grand desire's words of confidence. The army was that day arrayed in circular formation. With each war elephant were 7 chariots fully equipped. Each chariot was supported by 7 horsemen. To each horseman were attached 10 shield bearers. Every one wore armor. Duryodhan stood resplendent like Indra at the center of this great and well-equipped army. Yudhishthira arrayed the Pandav army in Vajravyu. This day's battle was fiercely fought simultaneously at many sectors. Bhishma personally opposed Arjun's attacks. Drona and Virat were engaged with each other at another point. Shikhandi and Ashwathama fought a big battle at another sector. Duryodhan and Drishtadyumna fought with each other at yet another point. Nakul and Sahadev attacked their uncle Salya. The Avanti kings opposed Yudhamanu, while Bhimsena opposed Kritavarma, Chitrasena, Vikarn, and Durmarsh. There were great battles between Ghatotkach and Bhagadat, between Alambas and Satyaki, between Bhurisaravs and Drishtaketu, between Yudhishthir and Shrutayu, and between Chekidana and Kripa. In the battle between Drona and Virat, the latter was worsted and he had to climb into the chariot of his son Sanga. Having lost his own chariot, horses and charioteer, Virat's sons Uttar and Sweta had fallen in the first day's battle. On this 7th day, Sanga also was slain just as his father came up to his side. Shikhandi, Drupad's son, was defeated by Ashwathama. His chariot was smashed and he jumped down and stood sword and shield in hand. Ashwathama aimed his shaft at his sword and broke it. Shikhandi then railed the broken sword and hurled it at Ashwathama with tremendous force, but it was met by Ashwathama's arrow. Shikhandi, badly beaten, got into Satyaki's chariot and retired. In the fight between Satyaki and Alambas, the former had the worst of it at first, but later recovered ground and Alambas had to flee. In the battle between Drishtadyumna and Duryodhan, the horses of the latter were killed and he had to alight from his chariot. He, however, continued the fight, sword in hand. Shakuni came then and took the prince away in his chariot. Kritavarma made a strong attack on Bhim, but was worsted. He lost his chariot and horses and, acknowledging defeat, fled towards Shakuni's car, with Bhim's arrows sticking all over him, making him look like a porcupine speeding away in the forest. Vinda and Anuvinda of Avanti were defeated by Yudhamanu and their armies were completely destroyed. Bhagadat attacked Ghatotkacha and put to flight all his supporters. But alone Ghatotkacha stood and fought bravely. But in the end, he too had to save himself by flight, which gladdened the whole Kaurav army. Salya attacked his nephews. Nakul's horses were killed and he had to join his brother in the latter's chariot. Both continued the fight from the same car. Salya was hit by Sahadev's arrow and swooned. The charioteer skillfully drove the car away and saved Salya. When the Madra king was seen retreating from the field, Duryodhan's army lost heart and the twin sons of Madri blew their conchs in trump and, taking advantage of the situation, inflicted heavy damage on Salya's forces. At noon, Yudhishthira led an attack on Shrutayu. The latter's well-aimed arrows intercepted Dharmaputra's missiles, and his armor was pierced and he was severely wounded. Yudhishthira then lost his temper and sent a powerful arrow which pierced Shrutayu's breastplate. That day, Yudhishthira was not his normal self and burnt with anger. Shrutayu's charioteer and horses were killed, and the chariot was smashed and he had to flee on foot from the field. This completed the demoralization of Duryodhan's army. In the attack on Kripa, Chekitana, losing his chariot and charioteer, alighted and attacked Kripa's charioteer and horses with mace in hand and killed them. Kripa also alighted and, standing on the ground, discharged his arrows. Chekitana was badly hit. He then railed his mace and hurled it at Kripacharya, but the latter was able to intercept it with his own arrow. Thereupon they closed with each other, sword in hand. Both were wounded and fell on the ground when Bhim came and took Chekitana away in his car. 96 arrows of Dhrishtaketu struck Bhurisarav's, and the great warrior was like a sun radiating glory as the arrows, all sticking in his breastplate, shone brightly around his radiant face. Even in that condition, he compelled Dhrishtaketu to admit defeat and retire. 3 of Duryodhan's brothers attacked Abhimanyu, who inflicted a heavy defeat on them but spared their lives, because Bhim had a son to kill them. Thereupon, Bhishma attacked Abhimanyu. Arjun saw this and said to his illustrious charioteer, "Krishna, drive the car towards Bhishma." At that moment, the other Pandavas also joined Arjun, but the Grand Desire was able to hold his own against all 5 until the sunset, and the battle was suspended for the day. And the warriors of both sides, weary and wounded, retired to their tents for rest and for having their injuries attended to. After this, for an hour, soft music was played, soothing the warriors to their rest. That hour was spent, says the poet, without a word about war or hatred, and was an hour of heavenly bliss, and it was a glad sight to see. One can see herein what the great lesson of the Mahabharat is. Chapter 70 finishes here. Keep listening Mahabharat audio series in the next videos.